Well, let's talk about Ukraine, because over the past 2 years, one of the greatest hoaxes ever perpetrated on the American people was meticulously carried out by the deep state. And it had all of the help of the propaganda arm of the United States media. Everything went from the Associated Press to CNN to the New York Times. So it's not hard to believe that a majority of Americans actually fell for it. Americans are trusting people. They're hardworking. They're busy. They're taking care of their families. And when they flip on CNN or something for a brief few moments and they hear this rhetoric and this propaganda, they went along with it, unfortunately. Americans were told that Ukraine was invaded by the demonic Russian army in an unprovoked attack. They didn't know the history going back to 2014. Americans were told that Ukraine was a democratic country with a selfless hero named Vladimir Zelensky, a man in a green T-shirt who turned down an evacuation by the Biden administration to stay and fight in Ukraine. This guy was a hero. He just needed bullets and our support.
When rumors surfaced that he was fleeing the capital, however, he pushed back with a video of him and his leaders in the street, saying, "We're still here." And when the Biden administration offered an evacuation, he said, "I need ammunition, not a ride."
Yeah. And that was echoed in the mainstream media. I need ammunition, not a ride. And man, you saw CNN. Everyone was like, wow, this guy's brave. This is a leader.
Yeah.
Screw Putin. This guy's the real hero, right? And it worked. I mean, Americans hung Ukrainian flags on their houses. They updated their Twitter bios and put Ukrainian flags there.
The sacrifice.
I mean, the sacrifice they made was overwhelming, right? They opened their wallets and actually donated money. They opened their homes and welcomed refugees in.
A lot of people took the pictures of their family on Facebook and put a Ukrainian tint across the, of the Ukrainian flag.
They really went all out.
Yeah, that's really showing the world.
They invited Zelensky to hang Ukrainian flags in United States Congress. They let him speak at a joint session of Congress, which is an honor which is only reserved for people who control the United States. We only let people who we answer to speak in front of a joint session of Congress. The propaganda was incredibly strong, and most Americans, of course, fell for it. Falling for it allowed the United States Congress to send over $200 billion to Ukraine. I love seeing this fake number floating around of $111 billion. Let's be honest. We know that that's just the batch of money that they've set aside for Ukraine. The tens of billions of dollars that is secretly and had already been funded to Ukraine is well over $200 billion. It's one of the largest boondoggles in American history. More than 500,000 Ukrainians are now dead. American defense companies set record profits. The CEO of Raytheon casually admitted the truth that the war in Ukraine is very profitable.
You made some public comments a while back about how, the conflict would likely result in an increase in your business. Some took issue with that. That seems like a logical consequence of what's going on, right?
Yeah, that's fair enough. Look, we don't apologize for making these systems, making these weapons. I make no apology for that. I think, again, recognizing, we are there to defend democracy. And the fact is, eventually, we will see some benefit in the business over time.
Yeah, we will.
Some benefit. Yeah. A little bit.
The Biden administration is now threatening Americans. Ukraine needs more money or Putin will win. And Americans will need to go fight in Ukraine, as we just talked with Jim Ferguson about. Like, this is really happening in the UK and in the United States. President Biden said this last week. And Secretary of State Blinken reminded all of us this week that war has been great for American companies, so you should be happy about this.
Footnote on this, and this is more for the American audience. If you look at the investments that we've made in Ukraine's defense to deal with this aggression, 90% of the security assistance we provided has actually been spent here in the United States with our manufacturers, with our production, and that's produced more American jobs. More growth in our own economy. So this has also been a win-win that we need to continue.
It's a win-win. He says that with a straight face. It's a win-win. Well, this week, America's second favorite world leader behind Benjamin Netanyahu was back in Washington begging for more money. He's going to meet with President Biden and the Speaker of the House, the new Speaker of the House. But before he does that, he met yesterday with his main benefactors, of course, the United States defense industry. I mean, this was an unbelievable. Let's get the cameras here. Let's make sure he's shaking hands with all of these defense contractors. There he is, shaking hands with the Lockheed Martin's executives, Boeing executives, Northrop Grumman. Can you imagine all these guys in one room? And he wears his Ukrainian T-shirt. Like, this is the guy. He's coming here, and he's meeting with them before he's meeting with President Biden, because you know exactly who his paymasters are. General Dynamics, Northrop Grumman, all of them were there. And it was an unbelievable moment. And then he tweeted this, actually. So he went into great detail about this. This is what Zelensky tweeted. I met with the leaders of the U.S. defense companies and expressed my gratitude to every American worker who manufactures weapons that help us safeguard our people and defend our land. I appreciated all American companies that attended last week's U.S.-Ukraine Defense Industry Conference. I also proposed establishing a European defense hub in Ukraine. We are prepared to make all essential decisions, cut red tape, and allocate orders. Now, that sounds like a great idea. Think about that, right? It's the most corrupt country in Europe. So let's build a European defense hub in this location. He says, we'll cut red tape. What red tape do you have to begin with? We can't account for the weapons that we've already sent you. We can't account for the money we've already sent you. You're going to cut red tape? How much more red tape is there to be cut? And we're going to allocate orders, making sure that so Ukraine will become the NATO defense. We've said it all along that the whole purpose of this was to turn Ukraine into an aircraft carrier for NATO, put weapons on display so people can make orders, use it as like a training ground, a proving ground, so people can come and watch how weapons are used and destroy and leveraged. He says, we are ready to produce more ammunition and military vehicles, but we require support. It's important to develop joint production of artillery, ammo, air defense systems, and artillery and missile systems. Together, we can create more jobs, generate more strength, and provide more opportunities for both of our nations. And here's the photo op, of course, with these guys after the big meeting there, all of the defense contractors that shook hands with him, Northrop Grumman, Boeing, General Dynamics, of course, they're all there. However, something is different this time in Washington, D.C. with Zelensky's trip there. You know, before, of course, he was speaking in front of a joint session of Congress. Not anymore. Zelensky is this time, though, being met with a cold shoulder by members of Congress. And U.S. headlines showing this time as he arrives in Washington. Winter, advantage Russia. Biden and package risks collapse. Ukraine on brink of losing war. I've seen a number of headlines talking about this is not good. This is not good for him now, rolling into Washington, D.C. J.D. Vance told Steve Bannon today that people in Washington want to cut Social Security benefits in order to give money to Ukraine so Zelensky's ministers can buy yachts. Those are J.D. Vance's words. Listen.
You have a foreign leader coming to the United States like we're some sort of geopolitical Salvation Army. That is not the role of the United States here, is to hand out money to every beggar who comes into our country and demands that we fund their foreign conflict. So Zelensky is parachuting into this domestic political debate about prioritizing our own border. He's not here to tell us anything we haven't heard before. He's here to badger and browbeat Speaker Johnson and Senate Republicans into foregoing our negotiations on border security in order to write him another blank check. I've never seen anything like this. This is not Churchill coming in the midst of World War II. This is literally a guy begging for a handout and telling Republicans to stop negotiating over your own border security. I'm offended by it. As a United States Senator, I'm offended by it. We should be focused on our own border and be having that debate. We don't need Zelensky to parachute and tell us how to run our country. You have people in this town saying we need to cut Social Security. There are people who would cut Social Security, throw our grandparents into poverty. Why? So that one of Zelensky's ministers can buy a bigger yacht? Kiss my ass, Steve. It's not happening.
Kiss my ass.
Kiss my ass, Steve. It's not happening. Yeah. T-shirt boy comes to Washington, D.C. and asks for more money. $61 billion this time. $61 billion is what we need in order to make this happen.
Now, Republicans continue to say they're not going to put up this money without any kind of guarantee around the border security. We'll see what happens. I mean,
Well,
on
JD
the edge of our
Vance,
seats.
I mean, yeah, Senator Vance said, look, this is the first time he's actually seen Republicans somewhat united around something, which is maybe border security. It's convenient that, now it's an election. It's almost an election year, so that's now suddenly a concern to them.
Okay.
And going to torpedo a Ukraine budget. We'll see. So will Republicans hold strong, or are they going to cave and send billions more to Ukraine? We will know the answer to this very, very soon. Maybe they'll do it and they'll sneak home for Christmas break, which is what they usually do.